Hello, Wildcats. I want to thank you in advance for your participation in today's student training. The Oshkosh Area School District and Oshkosh West High School have adopted the ALICE framework to ensure that both students and staff will have the tools needed to make potentially life-saving decisions in a crisis situation. Today's training will help you feel more capable and more empowered to make good decisions if a dangerous intruder threatens our safety from within the school. There will be several times throughout the presentation today that your teachers will lead a group discussion in your homeroom. These discussions are designed for you to make the training your own and think through many of the important details on how to respond in a potential crisis situation. There are several objectives with today's training. First off, students and staff will have a full working knowledge of what ALICE is and what the ALICE acronym stands for. Students and staff will also understand the benefits of a lockdown and barricade situation and will be given an opportunity to personalize this for their particular homeroom. Students and staff will also have an understanding of what a rally point is and where the school primary rally point is and each individual classroom secondary rally point is. Along with those first objectives, there will be a review of other building safety procedures delivered in today's training, and students and staff will receive more detailed information towards the end of the training about tomorrow's ALICE evacuation drill. One of the questions that need to be answered today is why the ALICE framework is our preferred method in crisis response. In order to do that, we need to define what is the ALICE framework. ALICE is a proactive approach to responding to a crisis situation which empowers those involved to make both individual and group decisions. This definition is crucial in understanding why the ALICE framework is important in the Oshkosh Area School District's plan to make sure we have a safe learning environment for all students. At this time, I would ask the homeroom teacher to lead a group discussion and really focus on unpacking the meaning of the two underlined phrases in that definition. Please take 3 or 4 minutes to talk with the class and unpack those meanings. Now that we have a clear understanding and a clear definition of what the ALICE framework is, some would ask, why the word ALICE? ALICE is actually an acronym. This acronym stands for the following: A, alert; L, lockdown; I, inform; C, counter; E, evacuate. Once again, the A in ALICE stands for alert. Being alert is one of the most important steps in ALICE. We ask both staff and students that when you see something that is out of the ordinary, you relay that information to someone that can investigate what is going on. Students, if you see something that is not normal, we ask that you alert an adult or a teacher in the building or an administrator and that you say something. I know many of you have heard the old saying, if you see something, say something. That is really what being alert is all about. The L in ALICE stands for lockdown. When students and staff find themselves in a dangerous crisis situation that involves an aggressive intruder within our school building, students, with the help of teachers, need to evaluate the current information that they receive and determine what their first response is going to be to the crisis. And that could be a number of things based on the information. One potential option would be to evacuate, which we will talk about later. Another option that we're going to talk about on the next slide would be to lock down. That just simply means to remain in the classroom and go into a lockdown and barricade situation where we try to prevent access to the classroom for that aggressive intruder. Although lockdown may not be the preferred response in all situations, lockdown is generally an excellent starting point for students and staff when they are trying to figure out how to respond within a crisis situation. One of the key components to a lockdown is also the barricade that goes along with it. Barricading is simply creating a stronghold that nobody can breach, really trying to make it very difficult for this potentially dangerous intruder to gain access to whichever classroom that you're in. Some rules that go along with a lockdown and barricade are simple. Once a barricade is in place and the door is locked, no one should be allowed into a secured room. And that is ever. So if your friend is on the outside of the door begging to come in, we would encourage them to try to evacuate or find another place to lock down in. At this time, I would ask again that the homeroom instructor lead a class discussion really focused on how could you create a strong barricade in the homeroom that you are currently in. And then think about other unique situations around the building, classrooms that may look different from yours currently. How could you create that stronghold within the classroom? Would you utilize the desks, the tables, chairs, shelves? Are there electric cords you could use to tie on doorknobs? All of those are options that I would like explored at this time. And hopefully your instructor can help guide that discussion as we really work out how you could make that stronghold that would be very difficult for anybody to breach. Again, teachers, please take somewhere around 8 to 10 minutes to lead this discussion. The I in ALICE stands for inform. Information in a crisis situation is crucial in the decision-making process. All students and staff are encouraged to share whatever information they can with anybody else that could also be in the crisis situation. We ask that while communicating, you use clear language and you only try to communicate those very important details that could help others survive this type of crisis situation as well. The C in ALICE stands for counter. Counter is truly used as a last resort only when the dangerous intruder gets close in proximity and becomes an imminent threat to you or your classroom. The idea of counter is really trying to distract the intruder so that they are no longer the aggressor, but they're responding to your actions. This may include things like throwing objects, making noise, turning off lights or on lights, and moving around, not staying in one place. Remember, to counter is not to fight this dangerous intruder, but the goal of the counter or the distraction is to kind of open a window where you still have an opportunity to evacuate or flee from the danger. If you get to that point in the counter part of the Alice framework, it is best for you to run to the rally point to make sure that you are out of harm's way and at a safe place. The E in Alice stands for evacuate. Evacuation is always the best option. Evacuation involves fleeing from danger or getting away from the dangerous intruder that is in the building and finding a safe location. Whenever the decision is made to evacuate, it is encouraged for staff and students to find the safest and quickest exit from the building. If you are not in a classroom, this should be your primary response in a crisis situation. Again, would be to leave the building and stay safe. Once outside, staff and students are encouraged to get to our rally points. Our primary rally point is the football field behind school. If that doesn't seem to be a safe place, we have secondary rally points established as well that we will talk about a little later in this presentation. But again, evacuation is always the best option, and it involves getting to safety and getting away from danger. Now that we have taken some time and learned about the options within the Alice framework and how to respond within a crisis situation, I would ask you to think about the following quote. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing. Now that you've had a moment to think about the quote from the previous slide, I hope you understand that the Alice framework is truly designed for the individual, both students and staff alike, to make important decisions that will increase their chance of survival if a potential life-threatening crisis were to take place within our school. Every individual in the school has the power to make decisions that will ensure their safety. And students, again, I would ask, at times, if you're not sure what to do, look to adults for help. Try to make sure you're familiar with the building and you know how to get out in a crisis situation. Now that we've taken some time and really gone over the emergency crisis response in situations that involved aggressive intruders, potentially armed and dangerous intruders within our school building, I think it's important that we also look at our other school safety measures in regard to being prepared for all types of emergencies. At times, we may experience other safety alerts, and these alerts could be a soft lockdown, a hold, a hard lockdown, and an evacuation. In the following slides, we'll just look real briefly at why we would go into those particular situations and what exactly is expected of students in those situations as well. One situation, which is not entirely common, however it was used last school year, is a soft lockdown. Why would students and staff hear the call of a soft lockdown over the PA system? Typically, a soft lockdown is used when there is a concern or a threat that is outside of the building. And what's expected of both students and staff when we go into a soft lockdown. School staff members will be asked to create a perimeter securing all of the exterior doors. The idea of this is to create that perimeter and keep the threat that is already outside of the building in the nearby community outside of the building. No one will be permitted to either enter or leave the building without administrators' approval. But within the building, things should look fairly normal. We like to use the term business as usual in the building. Classes can continue, normal movement of students can continue with passing periods or if they have passes to honor. We just really want to make sure that our perimeter is secure and that nobody is getting in or out of the building without approval during these situations. Another very common emergency situation that we find ourselves in at Oshkosh West is the hold. Why would you hear of a hold, or why do we typically go into a hold? There's a variety of reasons. Some of them are typically students and staff within a medical emergency. We go into holds when we have the Oshkosh Police Department bring in their canine units to search the building. There's just a variety of reasons we would enter into a hold. But mainly, if the situation calls for clear hallways, that's generally when a hold is used. So what do we expect you to do during a hold? Well, again, the school staff members will close and lock classroom doors and just make sure that no one is permitted to leave the classroom. We really, truly want all of the hallways cleared so that there's some privacy in whatever situation is being handled at the time. But truly within the classroom, we would just hope that classes continue as normal inside of that classroom. Just really limiting the traffic out of the classroom for any reason. Now, if an emergency arises, call administration and someone could come and escort students wherever they may need to go in those situations. Another emergency situation that we could potentially use at Oshkosh West is the hard lockdown. Why would you hear the call of a hard lockdown over the PA system? It's typically when there's some kind of immediate threat inside of the building. Oftentimes probably not as dangerous as the threat involved with an Alice drill. However, when we look at what would be expected during a hard lockdown, again, the use of evacuation would be primary, but in this case, maybe it's not an option. And then we would go back to the lockdown and barricade of your classroom if that is the only option for us. So we would lock and close the classroom doors, barricade the entrance, turn off the lights in the classroom, make sure that everyone in the room is remaining silent. Really just trying to put distance between or obstacles between you and the threat. The final emergency situation that you may potentially hear at Oshkosh West High School that we're going to talk about today is the evacuation. Why would we hear an evacuation? An evacuation takes place when Oshkosh West High School is no longer a safe place for students and staff. And this could, again, be for a variety of reasons, maybe something like a bomb threat or other threats specifically against the building itself. And so what do we do during this evacuation? If it's truly an evacuation call, we would ask that students follow all teacher instructions. We have very detailed plans as to how to get everyone out of the building safely to our primary rally point or our secondary rally points, and to make sure that we're accountable for all student whereabouts within that process as well. Our primary rally point is the football field behind the school. That would be the number one place we would look to go, depending on the threat level, if the football field would still be safe. If it's not safe, we have secondary rally points set up. These rally points are at Lourdes High School and at Tipler Middle School. Every teacher is assigned a specific secondary rally point. If you're ever curious, ask your teacher to look in their emergency response plan to let you know where their secondary rally point is. The graphic you are looking at currently is a rough sketch of our football field, which is the primary rally point for Oshkosh West High School. If you look at the diagram, on the bottom it says school building to help you gain some orientation of where the football field is. And around that football field, basically on the track area, you will see the school is listed by wings. As we work through student and staff attendance and make sure everyone is accounted for, it is crucial that you report to the wing that you have your homeroom class in. So if your homeroom is a classroom in the E wing, you would need to report to that general area in the track and find your teacher and get in a single file line spanning outward on the track towards the fence. All of your teachers should be posted just inside of the track. Your placement at the football field, again, is essential for us to make sure that all staff and students are accounted for in an emergency situation that would involve an evacuation of the building. Finally today, I'm going to share with you some more information about tomorrow's ALICE evacuation drill that all students and staff will participate in at Oshkosh West High School. The administrative team has set aside 1 hour starting at 1:30 in the afternoon in order to conduct this required drill. Students are asked to report directly to their homeroom at 1:30, where teachers will provide a brief refresher of the ALICE presentation you've received today. Shortly after that time, announcements will begin to be made to start our ALICE emergency drill. Students and staff will receive a series of announcements talking about a description and location of a potential intruder within the building. Students and staff are asked to process the information and respond accordingly using the ALICE framework. Once decisions have been made how to respond based on the whereabouts of the intruder, everyone will gather at the primary rally point in their designated area. Once everyone is at the football field, attendance will be taken again. After everyone is accounted for, the administrative team will signal for staff and students to begin an orderly re-entry or reverse evacuation back into the building. Once we get everyone back to their homeroom class, teachers are expected again to take accurate attendance in the homeroom. Once that is done and the attendance is emailed to our attendance officer, the ALICE evacuation drill will be complete. So I just want to take a minute today to thank you for paying close attention and participating in this very important drill. Again, student safety is one of our primary concerns at Oshkosh West High School, and what we've outlined in this presentation or in this student training really are the keys to ensure a safe learning environment for all students at Oshkosh West. So again, thank you for your participation today, and I look forward to our training tomorrow at 1:30 that we will be taking place. All right, have a good day, everyone. Go Wildcats.